Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to be looking at a top tier waifu in the wholesome designation. We're not talking about this or this. We're talking about Frieda Reiss from Attack on Titan. Frieda was just one of those nice breather characters amongst the chaos, kind of like Sasha. Unfortunately, the situation she found herself in kinda got the best of her. But I'd say her efforts, at least for her sister's sake, were pretty commendable. So, without any further delay, let's open up Photoshop and get this show on the road. Looking at pictures from the anime, Frieda has more of a long, I guess you could say more elegantly shaped face, as opposed to, say, Historia, who has more of a permanent round baby face, even after the time skip. So I'm going to use a bit more of an exaggerated oval shape, and start the taper down to the chin pretty high up. I've always had a tendency to draw slightly skewed, so I usually flip my image horizontally halfway through the sketching process just to make sure I'm not doing it. And then if I see anything, I'll just use the warp or the skew tool just to bring it back into line before it gets out of hand. Just a little stylistic note about lower eyelashes. If you're going for like a semi-realistic look, you can get a neat little effect by just leaving a little bit of space between the bottom of the eye and the eyelash. It helps simulate the thickness of the eyelid a little bit. I picked this up from looking at Ayami Kojima's art, and I really like it for the style that I'm trying to develop, so it was a keeper for me, but you have to decide whether it's right for your style or not.
When I'm doing this kind of gradient shading, I usually work with about 3 layers for both shading and for the highlights. The first I usually name general shading, which is just to kind of rough out where I want the shadows to be. The second one I work on is detail shading, which I use to get all those crevices and really start to round out the shapes in 3D space. And the last one I work on is usually called overshade, which I use at the end to apply broad shading to wider areas. And all of those shading areas are set to multiply. The lighting layers usually use a mix of hard light, vivid light, and pin light, and sometimes overlay when I'm dealing with more exotic lighting or transparent surfaces. Once I'm pretty happy with the shading and lighting, I merge all the layers together and then get around to some cleanup. And for this I usually just paint on a layer above the merged layer. I usually keep a copy of my line layer as well. The line work in my stuff is usually pretty bold and significant, so I always want to keep a copy of that just in case I want to tweak it a little bit. And with those final few touches, we're pretty much done here.
Well, I think that went pretty good. I'm really liking how the hair turned out. Pretty happy with the decision I made to go with the slightly altered blue color I got from the reference picture, instead of correcting to the black her hair actually is for the base. I was really hoping to set up everything just right so I would get those violet colors coming out of the highlights there. I think the eyes are looking pretty good. Sometimes when I have the character facing out towards, like, us, I have a hard time getting the iris position just right, and it can send the whole face into uncanny territory pretty fast. But I think it was mostly avoided this time. I'm really trying to improve with every picture that I do, so any artists out there that have any tips, I wouldn't take any offense to seeing some suggestions in the comments. I never really had a professional training in digital art, so I mostly picked this up through talking with people and just checking out other people's art and trying to emulate it. So I'm sure I'm missing quite a bit when it comes to this stuff. And if any of you guys have a character in mind that you'd like me to take a shot at, just give them a shout out in the comments. It doesn't specifically have to be anime, it could be from a 3D animation or an American cartoon. Sometimes I even try and do real people in my art style as well, so that's an option too. But really, I'll give anything a shot. It could be people, it could be creatures, machines, it's whatever really. And if anyone wants access to the Frieda picture, it'll be at my Deviantart that I'll link below. And that's about it for now. This has been Aronim, and I'll see you in the next one.